There's this other one, she's a wild card and she's on fire and she lights me up and it's fun. Every time I'm alive with this person. Which one am I going to go with? Well, it's this one. Joined the airlines and then went, wow, what have I done? This is terrible. This is like being a bus driver.
I can't fly these upside down.
You can't get enough of what you don't really want.
It's become a buzzword, and so a lot of people don't know how to interpret it anymore.
An authentic leader is to discover where you're not and tell the truth about it. I'd have been a rock star if I'd have known that. I love that.
You're listening to Fine is a Four-Letter Word. I'm your host, Lori Saitz. This show exists because fine is a lie leaders tell themselves, and it costs them their people, their culture, and their impact. Every episode, a leader gets honest about what it really takes to lead with empathy, vulnerability, gratitude, and courage. I trust something in this conversation will stay with you. So let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Fine is a Four-Letter Word. My guest today is Will Steele. Welcome to the show, Will.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And where are you? Where in the world are you today?
I'm in Costa Rica right now on the West Coast. And right after this, I'm going surfing.
I was just going to ask how your surfing lessons have been going.
Good. I have a neck issue that's getting worked through with an osteopath at the moment, but I've had that for about 2 years, and finally getting unlocked. So things are looking up.
Okay, so the sharks won't be looking for you as like easy prey. He's hurt. We can get him. No, I'm kidding.
There's enough going on without worrying about the sharks. They'll be there.
Oh, I always like to start off the show with a good laugh.
Yeah.
Help my listeners understand a little bit about your background. What were the values and beliefs that you were raised with that contributed to you becoming who you are, whether or not you still ascribe to those values or not? What were those first ones that were implanted in you?
That's good. Well, strong work ethic for sure. I mean, I was delivering milk at 3 years old.
Really?
In Yorkshire, which, bottles of milk, half pints and pints with a little foil top on these glass bottles. And, in the winter, they were sometimes frozen to the step of the house. They were so cold. But every day, 7 days a week, we'd be up out the door at 6 o'clock, go to the dairy farm, pick up the bottles of milk, then get on the truck and deliver in all weathers. Doesn't matter. The milk had to get there. Even if it's deep snow, we'd have to somehow get through it all and deliver all the milk. So, it was a good quality to be a good worker and seen as, that thing, you got to be a good worker. So that's just so ingrained in me to work hard, not complain, and just get on with it, right? So those are some values for sure there. And then as you were saying it, what came to mind immediately was my dad. My dad's very honest and straight and doesn't like to owe people money, likes to pay what he owes. So, it's always instilled in us being truthful, being honest. Things like if you tell a lie, you've got to tell another one, and then you can't remember where you started and you're lost. You're better off just telling the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's a religious guy. He reads the Bible every day. And I'm not so much religious, but those values of being honest and truthful, I find it very hard to be hiding something. I like to be open, honest, straight in the conversation, which has, helped me throughout the last 27 years, especially leading programs. If you've got 300 people there, you cannot be hiding something.
Yeah, somebody's going to pick up on that.
If you are, you just come across as BS,
Mm-hmm.
Guy's full of it.
Yeah.
When you're open and you there's nothing to argue. It's a certain ring to it, truthfulness,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go back to the milk delivery. Was that like here, a lot of kids, and not at 3, but we're delivering papers. So was that part of your family's business, was to deliver the milk? Or
Yes. My mother took the milk round. We lived in the middle of nowhere, in the sticks, you would call it in the States, right? So we lived in the sticks, in the countryside, And my parents got married very young. I think my mum was 19 and my dad was 22 or 21, 22. He'd just come out of the army. They met and then, had to get married. They got married and didn't have a lot of money at all. And then so my dad worked at a tractor factory and my mum had 3 kids. And literally the only thing she could do was start delivering milk for the local dairy farm. And she bought the business for agreed fee. I don't know how they did it. But she got the business and, for 40 years, she delivered milk.
40 years?
40 years in all weathers. Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Like that's how I like to think about that. And wait, for 40 years, people were still getting their milk delivered?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they still do in certain parts. She didn't get much for it when she tried to sell the business, like a nominal fee for the truck and, goodwill. But and she said literally all she ever really got out of it was enough money to buy the groceries. That was it.
Okay.
So she worked 7 days a week just to pay the groceries. But that allowed them to save a little bit. When ultimately they bought their own farm in the end, and they don't farm it really. They turn it into properties. So they now have 2 properties they rent out and they live in it and they look at their garden and they're very, very happy with what they've got. And, they've like accomplished something from having no money by working and saving and scrimping and scraping, which unfortunately they still do, which annoys me because they should have a better car and they should go on more vacations, but they won't. You can't get them to.
Okay. Well, their values are ingrained in who they are and they don't want to change. But how did those values evolve for you? Like, do you still believe that hard work is the way to success? What's changed?
It's not all about hard work. I kind of broke away from it, as a quite rebellious, if you like. I mean, they're all about saving money. So I thought, I'm not going to save money. Screw that. I'm just going to do what I want. But I did come around to their thinking as, that way of life doesn't seem to work. And then, a lot of my dad's advice is very, very good advice, that at the time I didn't listen to, I ignored it.
Of course. We never listen when we're kids.
As you do growing up as a teenager, particularly.
Right. Teenagers know far more than their parents, right?
Yeah. The parents are just stupid to teenagers, but that's actually built in. They've discovered that's built in. If you look at Africa is a good example because they've got tribes and villages, and it would have on the plane that the young teenager would get up and leave because then he'd go and find another village, and it somehow worked that you disagreed with your parents at some point. I mean, if you look at birds, they get out of the nest at some point, right? So,
right.
I haven't done too much of the research into that, but I heard that story and thought, yeah, that kind of makes sense,
Yeah, absolutely.
But back to my father. Yeah, hard work is your question. Yeah, I can work hard. I'm just not. What's the word? I'm not. It's not like the only answer. It used to be the only answer. I just work hard, and power on through. But, there's working smart, there's investing, there's having paying other people to do it instead of you so that you can focus on a bigger picture and actually bring in way more money, success, if you like, connections, because you're not so involved in all the doing. I'm working with business owners and getting them out of all the doing so they can focus on growing the business. It's like a Herculean task,
Yes.
Because, recently I've been having a couple of calls with business owners and they're on the phone and getting interrupted while on the call. They can't even have a call just for them. It's been interrupted. What about this? And we need this. And can you do us that? How can they possibly, really focus and think and create new business? They need to be there. They need to be connecting with other people. They need to be doing the kind of work that they just never get to do when they're in overalls and, working in the business.
Right. And the kind of work that would really bring them more joy.
Yeah.
like the kind of thing that they really love doing. And I found for myself, sometimes it's like I look at it and I go, why won't I allow myself to the time to do the things that bring me joy?
Well, it comes to mind because I've just been speaking to him recently. I was on a call with an earlier client, I had, one of the first clients I had when I started my own coaching business. So I was probably working with him 4 or 5 years ago. And at the time, he had car body shops, and he had 4 car body shops, and he was running around between them. It was the pandemic, trying to keep the lights on. And he said, look, I just need to if we can just make 2.5 million, if we can just somehow make that, we can keep the thing going through the pandemic.
Wow.
So, okay. I worked with him, and we didn't make 2.5 million. We made 7 million. And he reduced his hours from 65 to 75 hours a week down to 12. And within the 12 months of that, he got offered 23.5 million for his business. So what altered was just getting him out of doing all the doing. And I was talking to him recently. He says my phone used to go all day. I had like 2,000 minutes on my phone every month. He says now it hardly ever rings. It like literally doesn't ring all day. He only goes to work to show his face into his business. Mm-hmm. He's doing other things. He's doing his business was auto body shop repair, right? But he loves building homes. He built his own home, and then he's built another big home, and now he's building luxury homes for people, custom built. But he loves that. So he's actually not even doing the business. He's away from the business, and the business is doing great.
It is amazing what happens when we allow ourselves to create a life that brings us joy.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about you. You have a really interesting background before you came to be doing what you're doing, that some people would look at you and go, what, you were crazy to leave that. What was that thing that you started doing?
Yeah, there. I have quite an interesting background when you look at it. The delivered milk, right? And then around about 12, 13, I started working after doing the milk and in my spare time for a stonemason, which is like an all-round builder. He could mend roofs, he could fix walls, fix driveways, fix stairways, dig graves. So I was digging graves, mending roofs, all that stuff until about 16. Then I got into art college, and I didn't think I was good at art. I was going to make any money doing art. I didn't think it was a sensible. So I went and became an engineer, went and got a job as an engineer. So I was an engineer. And I started out as a mechanical engineer, and they said, we'd like you to do electrical, but we don't want you to drop mechanical. Can you do both? So, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So I did 2 technicians apprenticeships, one in electrical engineering, one in mechanical engineering. And at the same time, I studied extra maths because I had this idea that maybe I could go to university. And I got into university. So then I went to university, studied electronic engineering. And at university, there was a university air squadron. They sent me this leaflet in my joining instructions. And I thought, what? I can't have this. I've not done the normal path. I'm not a public school boy. I'm not, one of the elite. They wouldn't be interested in me. And I inquired into it. They said, yeah, come along. Mm. So I went along and I got in. And I started flying at university. It's like that was the club I was in, the Royal Air Force Flying Club, but it's called the University Air Squadron. And I loved it. It was great. And I couldn't believe, I'm going to be an engineer, but I'm enjoying this. But, they're encouraging you to be pilots, and you meet lots of pilots. And one day I was flying in a formation of 3 airplane, and I was doing this formation. This was unbelievably taxing, but at the same time, really good fun, right? And I went, wow, you get paid to do this. This is crazy. This is insane. Because of all the work I'd done, I'd worked hard. I'd done lots of jobs. And you get paid to do this? This is like, I'd pay to do this, And you get paid to do it. All right, that's it. When we landed, I put my papers in to join the Air Force to become a pilot. And, the chances of actually making it as a pilot are very, very, very slim. And I made it as a pilot. I became a pilot in the Air Force, thinking that was it.
Yeah.
But it kind of wasn't it. It wasn't enough, I wanted to be the best pilot. So I wanted to fly Harriers, but I didn't get Harriers. And so I left the Air Force. I had an opportunity to leave. They were giving people big packages to leave. They had to thin out the numbers. So I left, joined the airlines. and then went, wow, what have I done? This is terrible. This is like being a bus driver.
I can't fly these upside down.
That's right. I can't turn it upside down. I have to go where air traffic tell me to go. You know, I have to follow the route. It's like you've got to, you know, I mean, there's some exciting parts when you fly into Amsterdam, which is really busy, and you've got to speed up, and then you've got to slow down, and then you lose the height, and then that's quite challenging. That part, I won't take that away, and taking off and getting out of places can be challenging too. But what you're kind of left with is, this is my life. I'm just kind of waiting for passengers. I'm just waiting to get home as quick as I can. This is like, I'm doing this, but I want the rest of my life. It's really important. I'm just doing this so I can have my rest. This doesn't work. Anyway, I did this program. A friend of mine recommended it. It's called the Landmark Forum. I did that. And that just opened my eyes. I went, wow, you can actually make a difference with people. So all of a sudden people started to show up. And I did quite a few of their programs, and I thought, maybe I could do this. And they offered me the top job. Sorry, they offered me a job, but I'd have to start at the bottom. And at that time, I'd applied to British Airways, and I got the top job in the airline industry, which is to fly long haul, Boeing 747-400s from Heathrow. For the UK, that's like the top job. Yeah. So I got offered the top job, and at the same time offered to change career and start at the bottom. It's like, why now? Can't you let me be an airline pilot for a few years, get some money stashed away, and then start again?
Well, couldn't you have done that possibly? Like gone and did the airline thing and then come back to Landmark?
I could have done that. But my reasoning was, well, I know I'm going to do this because I've decided I'm going to do this. So I might as well get on with it, But there was a moment, I gave myself 2 weeks to make a choice, right? And I woke up on the final day, and I woke up and thought, if this was two women and one of them's, well-heeled, you're going to live comfortably. It's she's nice, everything, but it's just like, ordinary. It's just like, it's okay. But then there's this other one, she's a wild card and she's on fire and she lights me up and it's fun. Every time I'm alive with this person. Which one am I going to go with? Well, it's this one. So that was it.
That is such a great analogy that people can apply to any choice that they're making. Like we talk about, if it's not hell yes, then it has to be no.
It was a hard decision because it was very good money to go and work for British Airways. And it was like a 75% pay cut from where I was to go and start working for Landmark.
Yeah.
So it was a massive decision, but I don't regret it. I don't regret it. The other phrase, I don't know where I got that from, but was, you can't get enough of what you don't really want. So even though it was more money, it was longer, it was more prestigious, and everyone thought you were amazing, it still doesn't really do it for me. I'm not into that. I'm not into people thinking I'm amazing. I mean, it's nice for the ego.
Sure.
But it's not what I'm about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about, or became about, for sure. It wasn't where I started, but it's what it became about for me was making a difference with people.
Yeah. And is that your North Star now?
Always is when I'm working with somebody. But then, it's kind of the context is around having a business, I really love business because it's honest. It's like if you don't, well, it could be not honest, obviously, right? But if something doesn't work, it doesn't stay around. People don't want it. People don't buy it. So it has to be good. It has to work. It has to do what it says on the tin, if you like, So if I'm offering coaching to somebody, we're at work on what they want to be at work on. Save their marriage, no problem. Save your marriage. Or you want to grow your business? Good. Let's double your business in the next 12 months. Wow. Okay. And do it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or people want to change careers. They find that very difficult. But you've got to be able to tell the truth. And people find it very difficult to tell the truth. It's kind of.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's scary to tell the truth. Sometimes. I mean, and there are consequences. I had a client, and this quite often happens, not particularly these circumstances, but I'll be working with a business owner or an entrepreneur, to grow their business, and pretty soon into the engagement, what we're dealing with is their marriage is not working. They've been working so hard in the business all these years, they've neglected their relationship or their health. So we have to get into that and deal with that. So, I start out working on someone's business, but it'll end up being all different aspects of their life, or their teenage son won't talk to them. Okay, which we talked about. But, when you're actually dealing with that, that can be very upsetting,
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are still thinking in this term of work-life balance, or even moving it to work-life integration, which is a little bit better of a term, but it's really all part of your life. It's all one life.
There is I'll steal this from the past, and I'll probably do it, not say it exactly as it was written, but the definition of a true master is that you cannot tell the difference between when they're at work and when they're at play. Or mastery is that. I can't remember exactly the thing, but the point is, if your work's not lighting you up, then you need to do something about that. If your business isn't lighting you up, it's become a trap. You feel like you're imprisoned by it. And I was talking to a chap the other day, and he started an extension on his house in 2019. Here we are, 7 years later. He still hasn't finished the extension. And he's working on Sundays to try to get ahead of the week before the week starts. He works Saturdays. This guy is working 7 days a week in this business that's not growing anywhere near what it could be growing, because he is working in it too much. And you can tell people that, and they can kind of know that. But you've got to work with them to extract them from it, because they can't see how to do that, and that's what I've started to specialize in, particularly with, funnily enough, garage owners. I talked about the earlier guy, but I'm attracting more and more of those guys, and I like them because it's very, a car needs fixing, you fix it. People like that. It's
right. It's
simple.
Very tactical.
But to grow the business in that world is also, it's pretty good. It's like a very, very good business model. And people can do very well at it if they can get themselves out of being the one doing all the work.
Why do you think they stay stuck in the doing? Is it just because of their past programming, like you had, of I have to work hard, I have to be involved in every aspect of this business, otherwise it's going to fall apart? Yeah,
and people don't get trained in delegating at all to other people. Like having someone take over what I do. Well, how do you do that? You tell them what to do. That's what people typically do. They tell them what to do, and then they don't do it right. So they go, oh, fine, and I'll do it. So they then finish it off for them. Or they end up just giving up on trying to do that and doing it all themselves. And the problem is they burn out. You can't sustain that. You can't grow the business. You're the lid on the business. You have to learn how to delegate. You have to learn how to get your time back so you can work on growing the business. That's where the real money is.
What's the block, or what's the key to being able to delegate?
Finding out what can I delegate, right? So I have a few practices. So one of the practices I have a business owner do is I give them this whole sheet, right? So Monday to Friday, every 15 minutes, set an alarm. Alarm goes off. Beep. What am I doing? I'm doing my emails. Beep. I'm still doing my emails. Beep. Every 15 minutes. So by the end of that, we've got a pretty good picture of what they're spending their time on. And they didn't know they were spending 5 hours a week doing emails. They didn't know they were spending. I had one guy just recently, he's an architect, and he ended up, for some reason, picking his kids up from school in the middle of the day, picking them up and taking them home. And that was taking an hour and a half of his time every day, right? And I said to him, so is this like something you've created, like to spend time with your kids in the middle of the day? It's like a creation where you talk and you relate. And he goes, oh, no, I'm on my phone. They don't talk. They're just kids. They just sit there. And so we don't even talk. So you don't even talk to each other. So it's not like an occasion for fostering a relationship. He goes, no,
right, building
I'm
connection.
doing it because my wife can't do it. And I said, okay, you're an architect. You can do a deal worth millions of dollars, or you can be driving your car. So how much would it cost to pay somebody else, a responsible person, to pick up your kids for you? And it's like, $10 or something like that. That would be it. So like that, just by seeing what he's doing, we're all of a sudden, in an hour and a half a day times 5 is 7.5 hours. All of a sudden, they got 7.5 hours a week back.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take much to find another 7.5. All of a sudden, you got 15 hours. Well, that for some people, that's 2 days. For some people, that's 1 day, right? But all of a sudden, you got a whole bunch of time to now look at, well, how do you grow your business? Who do I reach out to? What do I start to do? So he's now going to functions. He's now entering competitions and winning them, by the way, because he's got time to properly do the work, and we're just a couple of months in now. So people don't do it because it doesn't occur to them to do it. They don't know what else to do, and it's what they've always done.
Yeah.
So you just end up, that's it.
And there's that phrase that it's hard to see the label from inside the jar.
Exactly. You can't see that. You can't see that that's what you're doing. It's just the way it is. I'm on a call with people and they're getting interrupted left, right, and center. And then they have to stop something and do something on the computer for somebody. The business owner is having to do something on the computer for somebody who works for them. That is insane.
It is when you say that, but when you're actually the person doing it doesn't, like you said, you've always done it. It doesn't seem like it's anything.
Yeah. You can't see it when you're in it. You just literally cannot see. There's things you're doing automatically, and because you just have, it's just what it is, just the way it is. Nothing's wrong, by the way. It's all right. They're doing a good living, doing an honest job. They're doing what they're doing. They're working as hard as they can. They're great people. But I can help them so much by working with them to see everything, and then I have a way to hand it over to people. You don't hand over the what to do. You hand over what is the outcome. What are you trying to accomplish? What am I paying you for here? I'm not paying you for the doing. You figure that out. I can show you what I do, and you can do it the way you do it. But what I'm paying you for is to produce this result, whatever that result might be. That result might be, you serve the customers. That might be you produce this much profit. It might be your job is to X, Y, or Z, right? Whatever it is, but you got to figure so that they understand what they're being paid for. They're not being paid to do it properly or do it like you want it done. No, it's not doing. It's producing. It's producing an outcome. It's in the domain of being, of ownership, of being responsible for what you're trying to accomplish. And when you got people like that, they can own the business.
That makes so much sense to me, to pay somebody or to expect somebody to get a certain outcome. At the same time, I think a lot of business leaders, when you look around in businesses in corporate or entrepreneurial situations, they think they're paying for the person to do the thing. Yeah. Which is why they don't necessarily, they want everybody back in the office. And that's a whole other different discussion. I think there's value to having people in an office separate, but they're paying you for your hours. And I have always argued you're not paying for their hours. If it takes them 5 hours to do something, but they finish and give you the outcome you want, like, who cares? Yeah. If it takes them 5 hours and you're paying them for 10, you're not paying them for the hours, you're paying for the outcome. But also if you can also, it's a bit of a larger conversation, but if you can create what is it you're up to with your business, with your company, what are you out to accomplish in the world that could make a difference? Now, people don't buying into the mission about it. Yeah, well, no, not buying. Actually go to work together to create the mission together. I work with just over 40 senior executives from a pharmaceutical company in Saudi Arabia. And I had 2 days. You got 2 days, do some training. Well, what training do you want doing? I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to go in there and find out what they're dealing with. Okay. So I spent a day dealing with what they're dealing with,
And they were very confronted with my training. This guy goes, I said, what are you dealing with? What are your problems? What are you dealing with? The guy comes, he goes, I got people in my section here. Some people talk to me. Some people just won't talk to me. I just can't get the right people. I said, okay. So let's rephrase that to have you see it from a different angle. Okay, so wrote on the board, right? So instead of how come some people communicate and some people don't, that's the problem. So we'll look at it from this way. What is it about me that some people communicate with me and some people don't? And they're like, what?
It's not about me. It's about them.
The people. What's wrong with the people? No. What is it about you that some people communicate with you and some people won't? What is that about you? You can't see it. It's like you said, you can't see the label on the jar if you're in the jar. You can't see how come some people communicate with me and some people won't. You think it's the people. That doesn't get you anywhere apart from keeping changing people. And hopefully one day get all the people who do like communicating with you. No, if I take responsibility for, there's some people that are scared to come and talk to me. There's some people, I had that conversation and they felt berated or they felt belittled or they felt intimidated by me. I'm not being responsible for that. I remember one of my colleagues when he was leading the forum, he's a really tall guy, really tall. And he used to stand really close to people, so he'd be towering over them. And then wonder why they get complaints or people feel intimidated. Well, he's got to be responsible for it. He's really tall and he's a man. So if there's a lady at the microphone and she's like 5 feet tall and he's 6'5", he doesn't want to be standing right, 3 feet away from her. He wants to be, give me like 8 feet. That simple stuff that you don't see because you're just talking.
Yeah, I love you've made so many good points in this conversation today because it's really about looking at what you can do to be a better leader. How can you be a better leader and create more success in your business, whether you're working in a corporation or running your own thing? Yeah.
Well, I think the foundation is really being authentic, being yourself. And people misunderstand the being authentic thing. They say, just be authentic. Well, how do you do that? How do you be authentic? Being authentic now? Well,
it's become a buzzword. And so a lot of people don't know how to interpret it anymore.
Well, your access, I can tell you the access is distinguishing, is being able to see where you're not being authentic and tell the truth about it. So if I can see I'm being inauthentic right now, I'm just, showing off, or I'm wanting you to make, I'm saying yes, but I don't really mean yes, or I'm going along. I'm just not saying anything. I'm just going along with this thing, but actually I don't agree with it. I think we should do this. You see, by saying I'm just going along with this, but actually I don't agree with this. We need to work this out. You see, what's happened there is I've been authentic about that I'm being inauthentic.
Right.
So in that moment, there's authenticity. In that moment. So your access to being, authentically an authentic leader is to discover where you're not and tell the truth about it.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to say that too, about finding the truth in what feels truthful to you. And then that's your authenticity. Fantastic. Well, we could continue our conversation all afternoon, but we won't. Will, I don't know if you listen to music when you're out surfing or you're just focused on that, but what is the song you listen to when you need an extra boost of energy? To get away from those sharks. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no, I'm not thinking about music out there. One of the things that was hidden from my view, and I actually mentioned this in my book, I use it as a very simple example, is I had believed for most of my life that I couldn't sing. I'm just not a singer. I can't sing. But I actually discovered when I had a guy staying in my house who wrote music, he said, just sing into the microphone, and I sang something and he mixed it and it sounded brilliant. I went, wow, shoot, man, I'd have been a rock star if I'd have known that. You know, I'd like to be on the stage and just really give it something, but I didn't think I could sing, so I never even occurred as a possibility for me. So from that point on, I started taking singing lessons. I wrote songs. I worked with musicians. You know, and you know, I would say I'm now able to sing. I have a musician friend said, "No, you're not a singer yet. You still need more work." And Glenn is a very, very great guitarist, but his hearing is so precise when it comes to, you know, pitch and key and all that stuff. Still, yes, it's true. But I can sing with the music, and I love it. But yeah, I mean, when I found out that I did have a voice. Yes, it needs work, but I do have a voice, and it's possible. And I was like, shit, I'd have been a rock star. I would have loved that, you know. This song I think there's a lot of people like that would love to be a rock star, you know, just
absolutely.
So that's the song, you know.
What's the song?
Rock and Roll Star by Oasis.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. If somebody wants to continue this conversation with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, willsteele.com is the best place. Just reach out to my website. There's a little form you can fill in there, and myself or one of my team will reach back out to you. You know, I work with people who are committed, curious, and coachable. If you've got all those three things and you're up to something, you're trying to accomplish it, particularly around business, then, you know, reach out. Don't hesitate. It's okay. If it doesn't work out, it's fine. We'll just have a great conversation. Something will come out of it.
Absolutely. I will put a link to that in the show notes. Will, thank you for joining me today on Fine is a 4-letter word.
Yeah, I also have a podcast myself, by the way, Free to Lead.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Book. My book is called Free to Lead.
I'll put a link to all of that in the show notes as well, now that you mentioned it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Great to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Before we close, I want to pull a few things from today's conversation with Will Steele, because this one was packed. First, you can't get enough of what you don't really want. Will walked away from the top job in British aviation for a 75% pay cut, not because it was smart on paper, but because the new opportunity lit him up so much more. He said, "It's nice for the ego, but it's not what I'm about." Ego satisfaction and genuine fulfillment look similar from the outside, but feel completely different from the inside. Second, if you're the owner doing all the doing, you are the lid on your own business. Working harder inside the business is not how it grows. Getting yourself out of the doing and into the leading is where the real money and the real freedom lives. Will cited the story of the auto body shop client who went from 65 to 75 hours a week down to 12, increased revenue from 2.5 million to 7 million, and sold the business for 23.5 million, all within 12 months of getting out of the day-to-day. Third, delegate outcomes, not instructions. Don't tell people what to do and how to do it. Tell them what result they're responsible for and let them figure out the how. That's the difference between a task manager and a leader. Fourth, authenticity is a practice. When you are hiding something from a team of 300 people, they can feel it because there's a certain ring to truthfulness that people detect even when they can't name it. The access to being authentic is catching yourself being inauthentic and then telling the truth about it. That moment of honesty is where the real leadership begins. And finally, your limits are often just beliefs you never questioned. Will spent most of his life convinced he couldn't sing. One person, one microphone, one moment changed that, and a possibility opened. He went from, "I can't sing," to, "I have a voice and it's possible." What have you decided about yourself that simply isn't true? If today's episode gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs it. I'm Lori Saitz, and this is Fine is a 4-letter word. I'll see you next time.